It was supposed to be just another afternoon, a quiet walk home, groceries in hand, dreams in her heart. But in just 6 minutes, her entire world, her life, was ripped away. This is the tragic story of Diane Whipple, a rising star, a beloved coach, and the victim of one of the most horrifying dog attacks ever witnessed in an American city. Diane was 33 years old. She lived in Pacific Heights, one of the most affluent neighborhoods in San Francisco. A decorated athlete, a dedicated coach, a woman who inspired everyone who met her. She played lacrosse at Penn State, competed on the U.S. women's national team. Later, she became head coach of the women's lacrosse team at St. Mary's College in Moraga, California. Her life wasn't perfect, but it was full of passion and promise. She shared her apartment with her partner, Sharon Smith. They were building a life together, a future. January 26, 2001. It was late afternoon when Diane returned home from a quick grocery run. She stepped into the hallway of her building and walked straight into a nightmare. Waiting outside their apartment were two massive Presa Canario dogs, Bane and Hera, each weighing more than 120 pounds, pure muscle, pure force. They weren't ordinary pets. These dogs were bred for aggression, the kind of aggression used in illegal dog-fighting rings. As Diane passed by, one of the dogs lunged, then the other. The attack was immediate, brutal, terrifying. Neighbors later said her screams echoed through the hallway, blood-curdling cries for help that lasted for minutes. She was thrown against the wall, mauled, torn. Her throat was crushed. She was completely overpowered, and there was no one there to stop it. Paramedics arrived as fast as they could, but the damage was irreversible. Diane was still alive, barely, her body mangled, her face unrecognizable. She was rushed to the hospital, but within an hour, she was gone. Diane Whipple died from blunt force trauma, massive blood loss, and asphyxiation. The investigation quickly turned toward the dog's owners, Marjorie Knoller and Robert Noel, two attorneys, educated, powerful, and alarmingly indifferent. They claimed the dogs were simply protective, but behind the scenes, they were involved in a twisted scheme. The dogs had been bred for a notorious Aryan Brotherhood-affiliated inmate named Paul Cornfed Schneider. The lawyers had adopted him. Yes, adopted a prison gang member as part of a strange legal loophole. These weren't pets, they were weapons. The trial was explosive. Sharon Smith, Diane's partner, sat silently in the courtroom as the horrific details were read out. Blood evidence, bite marks, audio recordings of the attack, testimonies of neighbors. It was all overwhelming. In the end, Marjorie Knoller was convicted, not just of negligence, but of second-degree murder. It was the first time in California history that a dog owner was sentenced for murder after a fatal dog attack. Diane was more than a victim. She was a mentor, a partner, a dreamer. Her life was a story still being written. But one moment of negligence, one act of cruelty disguised as ownership, took it all away. And even today, 2 decades later, her name still echoes in courtrooms, classrooms, and conversations about justice. She died not in a wild forest, but in the hallway of her home. And not by nature's beasts, but by the ones we chose to tame. Sometimes, the most dangerous animals are the ones that live among us.
They say when you look into the eyes of a bear, you're staring into something ancient, something primal, something wild. But Vitaly Nikolayenko didn't just look, he lived among them. For more than 30 years, he tracked, studied, photographed, and even named them. He believed he could understand them, communicate with them, even befriend them. Until one winter, deep in the snowy wilderness of Kamchatka, one of them turned on him. This is the haunting story of Russia's Grizzly man, Vitaly Nikolayenko, a man who died doing what he loved most, but at the ultimate cost. The Kamchatka Peninsula, remote, vast, and untouched. It's one of the few places left on Earth where nature rules without apology. This frozen corner of Russia is home to volcanoes, geysers, and some of the biggest brown bears in the world. And for over 3 decades, one man chose to call this wilderness home. Vitaly Nikolayenko, a self-taught naturalist, a wildlife protector, a man with no formal degree, but a lifetime of raw, first-hand experience. Vitaly wasn't just a scientist, he was an artist of observation. He took hundreds of stunning photographs, he kept detailed journals. But above all, he believed in coexistence. While others carried rifles, he carried notebooks. While others warned of danger, he spoke of trust. He named the bears. He tracked them by paw prints. He remembered their habits, their scars, their stories. He believed they were intelligent, emotional, capable of forming bonds. And some say he was right. Over the years, he became a legend in Kamchatka. Locals respected him, some feared for him, others admired him. He would disappear into the forest for weeks, sometimes months, surviving in a tent with little more than food rations and his equipment. He tracked generations of bears. He watched cubs grow into dominant males. He documented fights, mating, feeding, playing. He believed understanding their world could protect both humans and bears from deadly misunderstandings. But nature doesn't sign contracts, and bears don't follow rules. In late December 2003, at the age of 66, Vitaly set off once again into the forest, alone. Snow was falling. Temperatures had plunged below zero. But Vitaly was prepared, or so he thought. He had recently written in his journal about a new bear, a large male, aggressive, unpredictable, different. He named him Dobrynya, after a Russian warrior. But in those final pages, something was off. Vitaly didn't seem confident, he seemed wary. He noted that Dobrynya didn't behave like the others, didn't back off, didn't respect boundaries. And yet, he stayed. On January 11th, 2004, Vitaly didn't return. Rangers waited, then searched. What they found was a horror beyond imagination. Near the base of a cedar tree, they found signs of struggle, blood, torn fabric, snow-stained red. Nearby, they found the bear, Dobrynya, massive, unafraid. It was shot and killed on the spot. And then, they found Vitaly's body, or what was left of it. He had been mauled, torn, partially eaten. His journal lay nearby, frozen pages filled with his final observations. His last entry was just a few hours before the attack. December 26, 2003, Dobrynya visited again. He stood at the edge of the trees. Didn't flinch when I made noise. I don't trust him. There's something wrong in his eyes, but I must continue the work. They must be understood. Those were Vitaly's last words. His death shocked Russia. The world of naturalists mourned. Some called him foolish, reckless. Others called him brave. A martyr for a world we'll never fully understand. But all agreed. He died doing what he loved. He didn't fear nature. He respected it. He tried to live with it, but even love doesn't always keep you safe. The world remembered Timothy Treadwell, the American who also lived among bears and died by one. But unlike Timothy, Vitaly was a scientist, disciplined, focused, not chasing fame, but truth. And that truth ultimately cost him his life. Today, few remember Vitaly Nikolayenko. No documentaries, no films, just fading photographs and snow-covered forests. But the bears still walk Kamchatka, the same trails, the same dens, and maybe somewhere deep in that wild, another man walks with them, silently, watching, learning, as Vitaly once did. In memory of Vitaly Nikolayenko, nature gives and nature takes, but some souls become part of the wild forever.
It was October 5th, 2003, deep in Alaska's Katmai National Park. The sun was setting, a light drizzle soaked the tent. Inside, Two people lay silently, Timothy Treadwell and Amie Huguenard. They were experienced, passionate about bears, but tonight, something felt different. They had stayed too long. Timothy's camera was rolling, but without anyone behind it. Suddenly, from the shadows, it came. A massive grizzly, later identified as Bear 141. Sound, low growl growing louder. Timothy stepped out first. In seconds, the attack began. He shouted, "Run for your life, Amie." But she didn't. She stayed, frozen, screaming, praying, begging. She watched the man she loved being dragged away into the night. And then, silence. But the horror wasn't over. Minutes later, Bear 141 returned. It tore through the tent, straight toward her. She tried to fight. She screamed. She hit the bear with a frying pan. It didn't matter. In just 60 seconds, Amie Huguenard was gone. The next morning, rangers found the camera. The lens cap was on, but the audio recorded it all. What they heard was unthinkable. Amie's last cries, the sound of nature, indifferent. A love story, shattered in the wilderness. She didn't die because she was weak. She died because she loved, she trusted. And in that trust, she lost everything. Amie Huguenard's final minute is a reminder that nature is beautiful, but never predictable and never merciful. May she rest in peace. If this story moved you, share it. Subscribe for more real stories from the wild, where beauty and danger walk side by side.